I'm tangenting. I think I'll just cut all that out. Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. And today I'm going to look at Pandemic, kind of as a review, but more of a series kind of review, thought piece, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to go through the gameplay, etc., like I would normally do in a normal review. Instead, I'm just going to look at my thoughts on the Pandemic as a whole, at least the ones I've played. Starting with, the regular Pandemic, which I'm pretty sure, hopefully I don't have to explain. Maybe I'll put some B-roll in here, some of the pieces and components and whatnot of the board play. But I'm pretty sure everybody or most people who have played the hobby have picked up and played Pandemic at one time in their life. So I'm not going to go through the rigmarole of putting out more information on how the game plays. Instead, I'm just going to talk about what it means to me, my thoughts on the game as a whole, and the spin-offs that have come from it. Because like many others, I was introduced to the hobby by this game. It's helped shape where I am, and I really enjoy everything about Pandemic, the game. So I'm going to start off getting into just the base game here, my Gizmo scale. So gameplay, how's the gameplay? It's very fun. You're going around the board, you're trying to remove disease plagues from various cities, the interaction between the different character abilities, how the plagues are going to come out, or the pandemic cubes are coming out, the various diseases around the world, and what you're going to do to try to keep the board clean whilst also trying to manipulate the cures. You got to find the 4 cures before you end up losing the game in various methods. Just the gameplay is ingenious. It's a great design in how they managed to take the concept of people versus the game. This is one of the first cooperative games. There were others, I'm sure, before this, but this is the one that really brought it in the mainstream, and having the deck where you're pulling cards from the bottom and then shuffling them back on top, so that way the things you've hit are going to constantly keep getting hit, while other things could be introduced or not as the game progresses. The concept of the different cards, the helper cards you get, like the One Quiet Night and the free travel of someone around the board. I'm trying to remember all offhand, and now I'm drawing a blank, but you know what I'm getting. Those cards that just add different abilities that you can use as a one-time use during the game. I've already mentioned the different characters and how they can play, and how you draw, the city, whichever cities get plagued on the board can change up the variety of the game. So the gameplay is very fun. It's very interactive. It's very crisp and manipulating your actions versus the game's actions, and how the game state is constantly in flux. So you've really got to work together and adapt to the changing board from player to player. All right, the ingredients. The base game, standard cards. You're using cubes and pawns and stuff. Nothing exciting about the ingredients, the components themselves. They do the job. They do it well enough. You got the right card decks. You've got the number of cube components and the pawns you're using. It's all standard affair, a standard game board components, I guess. And then the map, the connectivity between the cities could make or break some of the actions, just whether or not you can travel as freely as you want. So I think it's all decent, but nothing exciting as far as the ingredients or the components in Pandemic. All right, Z, is it easy to play? Yeah, for the most part it is, and even where it's not easy, you're working together. So I've played this with my kids numerous times, and I've helped them kind of make wiser decisions, and I haven't played it with them in a while, so hopefully now if I brought it to them again, I wouldn't even have to do that. So yeah, it's a very easy game to pick up, but it could be hard to kind of master what the best moves are at the time, and sometimes even what would be the best move could turn out bad with the next epidemic draw anyway. But the gameplay itself is pretty easy, especially once you learn how the different characters use their abilities and how to best interact with your group in that regard. But as far as the gameplay itself, you're using 4 actions. They're pretty easy to extrapolate what they are. They're moving across the board. You're discarding cards to fly around the board. You're taking a single cube off the board, etc., etc. Nothing super in depth, and just figuring out how to utilize your actions to the best ability is kind of where the complexity, what little bit there is, comes into play. More of it. I mean, I've picked up spin-off games. I've picked up legacy games. I enjoy playing the game so much. I just want to keep diving into what the world has to offer. So more of it, even within the game itself, how you shuffle the deck, dictate which, disease cubes are coming out. Maybe you're just going to get influx of the red area in this game, or maybe this is the game you didn't bring the medic and the medic would have helped you the best, or the dispatcher, or whatever the case is. There's 7 or 8 different in the base game characters you can play. There's cities all over the board that can be shuffled out in the player deck or in the disease deck, that can change up the gameplay a lot. So there is variety in the gameplay, but in the end, it becomes a little bit of you're doing the same thing. Early, you're trying to just keep the board clean until you can manipulate the cards in a way to discover the cures. But I think there's enough variability to keep people coming back regardless. All right, originality. I've kind of touched on this already, but a game centered around a pandemic where you're playing against the board. This is the game that kicked off the cooperative play experience. It's very original in that regard. Even if there were other cooperative play games, none of them did what this one did in getting people into the community, really driving a driving force in expanding the hobby to what it is. I know many people watching this was their first game that got them into the hobby, and for that, like, you can't say it's not original. It didn't do something different. It definitely brought originality. Leaning into the further originality, now there are various IPs. Like, I've got Fall of Rome, World of Warcraft come in. Cthulhu is one I haven't played. There's various spin-off, just Iberia, the Waves one. I don't remember what that one's called specifically, but you're playing against the water building up. I believe I haven't played that one, but just the number of different variety of games that have come out of the base game, the spin-offs, the getting more and more people interested in more different varieties and slight different variations to how you play. With these two, you're not going around necessarily taking cubes off the map, but you're completing quests or trying to stop the invasion, and the way the invasion in Fall of Rome, which I think is my favorite of the spin-offs, not counting the legacy games, which is a whole different branch we'll get into here in a moment. But as far as the standalone game, I think Fall of Rome is my favorite, and I just like the way that the cubes come out in a different method than in the normal game. So yeah, originality. It brought brought gamers to the hobby, and then the spin-offs just keep adding more and more originality to what you're doing. All right, and then the final thing I want to touch on here is the legacy games. I hate to say it, or I like to say it, whatever the case is. Risk Legacy was the thing, so I'm not going to say Pandemic Legacy was the first game, but it's the first game that just drove the hobby. I think Pandemic Legacy Season 1, when it came out, went to number 1 and stayed there for quite a while. And then Season 2 came out and just racketed up the board. Season 0, I don't think ever racketed up as high. I think kind of by then, there were plenty of other games out there that, kind of kept Season 0 down. But I played them all. I played 1 and 2 all the way through twice, and I enjoyed both times. I found something slightly new in each play. Obviously, I kind of knew a lot of the main story beats on the second time through, but that didn't dissuade the enjoyment of it at all. I really like the legacy games. Now everybody's making legacy games based on where Pandemic came from. So that brings me into my final thoughts, my final rating. Pandemic has done wondrous things for the hobby. It really helped the hobby grow into what it is. It helped bring me in. It helped bring lots of people I know into seeing what else is out there in the world of board gaming, and it continues to grow. There's a new Star Wars one that came out, I think, that plays a lot like the World of Warcraft one. So it's continuing to make its mark on our hobby, on society, bring in non-gamers into a game night, just as easy as bringing gamers together. And I think that's great. Pandemic is a 5 out of 5 game for me. I might not like the base game as much as the whole of it. You know, this game by itself might be 4.5 and this game might be 4.5, but the concept of Pandemic, I can't deny it's a 5 out of 5 series of games in all. And so that's my thoughts on Pandemic, the game, and the legacy of Pandemic, which includes Pandemic Legacy. So that's what I think. That's what I wanted to talk about today. It was my review of the Pandemic series, kind of a look back review, a retrospective, I guess, in a way. And if you like this one, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I try to bring out new content at least once a week. I'm trying to get a little bit more than that, and I hope you like this video. Please leave your comments below on your thoughts on Pandemic and which one is your favorite to play, especially if it's one I haven't tried yet. If I get a bunch of people commenting on it, I'm going to have to go check it out myself. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.